Appreciate you calling. I appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight. I'm with Cirrus Construction. We're a general contractor located in the county. We happen to be building a building in Reedsville, and this is a large construction site. If y'all can imagine, anytime you're doing anything outside, weather is a big issue. When we're working in the winter, it's either too cold or it's too wet, too much snow. You name it, it's a problem. The weather this year, it's always lightning, thunder showers every evening. How much rain did you get? Why are you so delayed? Why aren't you putting siding up? Well, we had gusts of 20 miles an hour wind. Well, prove that you had 20 mile an hour gusts of wind. Prove you got that rain. So what we did as a general contractor, we investigated weather stations. How can we best, I'll say, defend the case. Let's hope it's not a case. But how can we prove our position? So we said, let's get a weather station. Let's see how that works. It'll document, the weather at our job site. If we have problems with cold, with wind, with rain, people will know that. So we did some investigating and decided on this weather station by Davis. It's a Vantage Pro 2. And one of the nice things about it is it records so much. It gives you, oh, I love the wires. We have temperature. Excuse me, folks. What we have inside here is we have a temperature indicator inside with a radiation shield. So this protects it from direct sunlight hitting it and heating it up. But then we also have a rain gauge here. Every time the bucket's dumped, that records, I think it's either 1/10 or 1/100th of an inch. But it's very tight. And this is solar powered, and it operates on 900 megahertz. We're back to my controller inside the job site trailer. And this controller just sits on somebody's desk. And this goes over, just got a little bitty hole in it, you see. And what that does, that funnels the rain back into the buckets. And that sets just like so. In addition to that, of course, we've got wind speed and wind direction. And both of these bolts onto a pole that we have out on our job site. Well, this worked great. Matter of fact, this unit, what we do with this is we just hook it up to our computer. It's a USB cord, and that way we get our data. What I'm going to do, I'm going to pass this unit around if I can get my power cords unhooked. Let everybody see it. And it gives you the full screen with a lot of indicators. We'll just pass that around. That's battery operated as well. And so it's real nice, self-contained. I'm not worried about the power. If the power goes out, it's not such a big deal. Well, what we did at Reedsville, though, we were thinking, let's have something a little more automated, a little bit. Reedsville's a good way to go if we've got to collect the data once a month. Somebody's got to take a laptop, go to the job site, hook it up, download the data. Somewhere between here and there might be a problem. My batteries might go dead. And but that, in this case, if the batteries did go dead, that would save the data. But what we decided to do was add an add-on. And what it's called WeatherLink IP. And this unit, it plugs into the back, and that unit reports to the internet. And it reports to the National Weather Service. We can log on to weatherlink.com and see our live weather at Reedsville at any time, day or night. It's a live service, 24 hours a day. And so that gives us the data we need. And I'm going to pass around a couple of reports. This first one I'm going to pass around is just a stack. Don't keep those if you would, because these are actually my copies for a project that we're working on. And this was from this station where it was in Greensboro at the Rock Creek Dairy Road EMS station. So that's actual data that we're actually using on the real job. And those are my copies. They're not photocopies. We had the storm go through this afternoon and my computer locked up. I said, well, that's okay. I'll just bring what I have. But one of the questions is why the weather link, and I'm going to pass around the article. I've got about 15 copies of this that you can have a copy of this. And they sort of did an analysis of 4 or 5 different weather stations. And they didn't like the price of the Davis instruments, but they did like the reliability. And to us, if I'm spending the difference between $400 or $500, when liquidated damages on a project, maybe $500 a day, you know, that little bit of money difference is insignificant to me. We need something accurate. And so that's why we went with the Davis. And it's real nice. It operates there as long as you have live internet, because it's got to have internet connection full time. If it loses internet, that unit will save it for a period of time, but then once it fills up, you could lose a little bit of data. But it's not been a problem that we have seen so far. So we've been real pleased with that. One of the, of course, accuracy. We all want it accurate, but I was going to show you something else on this. I told you this was solar powered. That's the solar power that comes with it, but it's also got a little battery inside. You see here at the top. And so if you got a cloudy day, you're not going to go dead. It's got enough power here to keep it charged, and the light keeps it charged up enough to take care of it. And you see my wind direction and wind speed indicators. It's just a little like an RJ55, RJ11 actually, that will hook up. And that just plugs in here to collect the data. They'll also do measure sun and UV. Those are 2 options that we don't have much of a need for in the construction industry, so we didn't get those. Another neat thing for this station is that it is wireless, and the radios, these radios will link to one another. And what they'll do is they'll act like repeaters and they'll transmit the signal even further. So this will transmit up to 1,000 feet back to the console. But then from this, I could go another 1,000 feet with another station, and it would transmit back to my console. My console would read up to 11 weather stations linked like that, all at once. And so it's a pretty neat situation, and as I talked with Mike, he does have a radio in it. So I guess that would qualify as ham radio. And, but I was so tickled when I got the call. He told me how the things had come across. The man, Paul, from the National Weather Service in Roanoke, had seen he was getting weather information from Reedsville. So he picked up and called somebody in the club. Did he call you?
When I was scheduling the Skyward class, he said, "We got a good weather station out there." Is that yours? I wish.
And so Mike looked it up and somehow found our number and called me, and he said, "Man, this is from the ham radio group." And I thought, great, that's wonderful. I know all about that stuff. And I know several faces in there are familiar. I've been a ham since 1980, and my father-in-law was a ham, Info-RS, and he's now moved to Missouri. Tom Pennebaker is my father-in-law. And so that'll date me a whole lot right there. And I've also downloaded a spec sheet for the weather stations that shows you how accurate it is, gives you some of the information. The last 2 sheets in this packet actually give you the information on the internet hookup for the station. They call it WeatherLink IP. That's your internet add-on that goes with the console. So that'll hopefully answer any questions you may have regarding those. And don't know if there are any other questions, if anybody has, but I didn't want to get too technical. I figured y'all could read the manuals later yourself. I wasn't going to stand here and read that to you. But it's a nice station. You can get online at weatherlink.com. And what happens is, you'll see a map. You click on the map, it'll zoom in. As it zooms in, you'll see Reedsville. And then when you click on the bubble, it'll say Cirrus at White Ridge. The location of this weather station is at White Ridge Plastics on Sands Road. We have a construction trailer out back, and if you happen to ride by and see that, you'll see this weather station up on the pole. And it's hooked wirelessly back into the building. And so that's weatherlink.com. You'll probably see a link for it in the book there. But you can zoom right in and get it. I don't even need to give you the address. It's so easy to get to.
What kind of a price range is this?
You're looking at about $600 if you buy this at any of the retail stores. If you go on eBay, you might can save $100. The first one I bought, I paid about $595. The second one I bought, I paid about $470, $480 from an eBay vendor, and it was a new station. That's a good question.
The stuff for the solar power stuff, how well does that stand up to the weather? Have you had any problems with having to go out and replace these units as far as?
This system here is 2 years old, and I just brought it into the field. I haven't even wiped it off with a rag, because I wanted you guys to be able to see that. And you can pop the top off and look at the debris. That you wonder how much stuff gets in there, and how much stays. If you look, you can look in the buckets and see, yeah, there's a little debris there, but it's not a lot. You see, just a very little bit. But that's a good question.
And that's 2 years worth of debris, you said?
That's correct. That's 2 years worth of debris.
And it's out in like an open area?
Oh, most definitely. Most definitely. You want this set out. You want this set out high enough to be unobstructed by local trees and the buildings, so that you get good wind indication and good direction. So you want to keep that away from things and higher than surrounding areas.
You put it on a pole?
Yes, sir. So it's up about 15 feet. I mean, it's not outrageously high, but it's just up high enough to be out. And this, you see, this is a mount here for a pole. Just, you could use an antenna mast, is what it's designed for. And these can mount, these can even mount together. If you want to put one beside the other, they'll mount like such. And I'd recommend you keep something like this up about 10, 12 feet. You don't want it so low to the ground that it gets the reflected heat from the ground back up. I had it out sitting on the concrete today. I had to put it in the car, and it registered like 98, 99 degrees. And it was hot, but it wasn't quite that hot today. And that's just because I had it on that hot surface.
The roof of a house in this one up there.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I know CCOM has one, and they said, my brother used to work there, said it's not reliable because so much heat came off of that flat roof. They ran on top of the roof, up on the center of the roof, said never could get accurate temperature.
Yeah, if you're doing that, they need to get away, 10 or 15 feet above that roof.
Then a new building now, so maybe they move.
But I mean, we've had very good success with this, and we've been very pleased with it. As I said, this unit does not have the WeatherLink IP, but what it does, it's very simple. We'll just look on the back, and it's a module that plugs in right here. And it comes out sort of like this does, and instead of a USB, it's a RJ45 just to plug into the internet. And then we have software that you use in a computer that goes and sets your IP address and the other parameters that you want. But it automatically reports to WeatherLink. You don't have to worry about it. If I had to say one thing bad, and it's not really bad, but it only reports to WeatherLink. Now WeatherLink will report to the other, like the National Weather Service, Globe, and some of these other weather keeping data services. But they'll do that, and you can tell them that you want to do it. And since we have the account, I can actually log into WeatherLink and get the history data. If you go to the site, you can only see my current weather. You can't get the history unless I give you a login and permission to do that. So you say, well, you're putting that out there on the internet for everybody to see. Well, what do I care if people know it's 94 degrees in Reidsville today? That's what it's for.
And you said thing that the network, the wireless networks, it says 1,000-foot range.
It sure does. It's right there in the specs. And it does real good. I mean, not only will it do that, at White Ridge, when we first set it up, it was probably only 200 feet distance, but we actually had this sitting inside an enclosure, a cabinet, a server cabinet, which is all metal, inside a metal building, and it still was able to link up. So it worked out great. When you first hook it up, it takes about 2 minutes for them to start talking to one another, and there'll be a little blinking light down here. But after that, it starts working, and it works great. Any other questions?
You said you're also a ham. Have you had any problems with interference, your transmissions or anything like that messing up with it? Or?
I'll have to be honest with you. I haven't had my radio out by this thing. I don't even. I have an Icon All-Mode, that nice little one that I can put in the car, and I just haven't done it yet. I need to get one of those little screwdriver antennas, and I'll put it in the car, but I haven't done it yet.
We have a weather station as well. It's not listed in your comparison. It's a Pete Brothers. It's all wired, and we went with a wired one just because of that possibility. The wireless ones, we had a couple, Lacrosse and Oregon Scientific, and every time we keyed up, it just scrambled everything. So we went with a wired one, and that's worked just perfect since then.
That's a good point, and I'll have to say I have not tested it for that.
Where'd you say it was again? We can drive by and.
You can.
You lost it.
Look, don't be carrying a ladder out there.
Does it have a heater or anything built into that, just for freezing, the rain?
Yeah, we're ready.
I mean, some of them batteries are less battery powered, I wonder if it. You know, maybe
This does not, you can buy the Plus, they call it, this is Vantage Pro 2 or Vantage Pro 2 Plus, and they do have some with a fan. And that's for a little more extreme conditions. But I didn't worry about that because if it's that cold, I don't care. Some of the things I'm looking for are if it gets down into the 20s at the lowest point, that's all I care about. For example, we lay bricks if it's 40 degrees and rising. So, you know, if it's 40 degrees and the trend is right, we can start work. Then if it dips real fast and there's a problem, the architect calls and he's mad at me, I say, whoa, we were within spec, it was 40 degrees and rising. So we can prove that we met the criteria for the construction industry. And so we're not interested in those extremes. But yeah, we've not had a problem with it freezing up. Now, it doesn't record snow well. I mean, so you'd have to have a heater and never melt snow until, and we do a correlation. But to me, that's not been a real issue. Anything else? Thank you, folks. I appreciate the opportunity to come tonight and show you. We'll leave this here till you're adjourned, but also grab a pen. I didn't bring quite enough pens, but y'all welcome to take this. They're nice cheap Bics.
Thank you, Charlie.
All
We
right.
appreciate it.
I got my report about it. Thank y'all, that's great.
Hope you leave with your weather station.
Yes, well said.
I promise y'all keep an eye on that.